Hey guys, welcome to FoundFlix. Stranger Things Season 2 introduced a bunch of new developments regarding the mysterious dimension at the heart of the show, the Upside Down, giving us a deeper understanding of its ecosystem and purpose, as well as revealing more details on the creatures that the dimension spawns. So let's explore the Upside Down and its creatures, breaking down everything we have learned so far, and theorizing on other connections based on what we know. Let's start with looking a bit at the Upside Down itself. I did a video after Season 1 that goes into even more detail about what we learn in Season 1, so check that out to learn even more. This dead dimension is a direct parallel to our own, featuring the exact same town of Hawkins, Indiana, but in a flipped way, seen mostly lifeless with a heavy blue cast over everything, tentacle-like living vines growing all over every surface, and a never-ending rainfall of spores in the sky. While we don't know the Upside Down's origins, it's assumed to have existed just as long as our own dimension, and is most likely not the only other alternate dimension out there, but is merely one of an infinite number of dimensions surrounding us as theorized by Mr. Clark. And this infinite dimension concept was also part of the Montauk experiments, which the show was originally based on to some extent. We haven't seen any others beyond the Upside Down, and based on what we see in Season 2, I would imagine that the Upside Down initially looked exactly like our own world, until the creatures showed up and destroyed it, leaving it in its vine-covered, decayed state we see now. This mini-dimension concept and their connections is further strengthened in this video from Nerdist, where our host considers each infinite parallel reality as a ruffle on the quantum fabric, and through entanglement they become linked. This entanglement between our universes is the gate itself, and of course this rip was created by powerful telekinetic patient 11. So without the specific rip of the gate, our universes would still be parallel in appearance and affected by each other in some ways. But with the gate open, our dimensions are connected more directly, with behavior seen including sound traveling between the Upside Down and our world, as well as electricity here like lights being affected by movements there, and will being able to reach out through devices on our side like the telephone and radio. As the gateway stays open, it increases in size and influence into our dimension, spreading its darkness from the origin point of the rip at Hawkins Energy. It does spread rather quickly as seen over the week of Season 1, and especially so when seen 1 year later, where it has grown to be absolutely immense. This leads us, as well as Dr. Owens, to believe that the basic behavior of the Upside Down can be equated to being like that of a virus, a small infectious agent that replicates only inside the living cells of other organisms. Its intent is to spread its disease, destroying all other dimensions in its path. And that lines up with exactly what we were seeing happening to Hawkins in 1984. The Upside Down has infected our world, creating an intricate series of tunnels that run under the town, and all the walls are lined with the dimension's vines and raining spores, essentially turning these areas on our side into that of the Upside Down. The Earth's soil is affected by this as well, killing crops on the fields above where the underground cabins have reached. The Upside Down and its creatures are all weak to both fire and light, and one way they try to slow this growth is via daily burns to the vines at the doorway. It works initially, but after a point the growth is happening too quickly for them to contain. And one thing a virus does is modify itself in any way in order to survive, so it evolves in order to ensure its own survival and keep growing. As the Upside Down acts as a virus, it requires a host to replicate, and it can infect all kinds of life forms from animals to plants to microorganisms. We've seen it infecting plants in our world, but what about animals? Well, that's where Will Byers comes in, who of everyone has spent the most time in the other dimension. When discovered there by Joyce and Hopper, he is found densely wrapped in the living vines, with one going directly into his mouth. Its intent is to use Will as a host, and use him to spread further as a virus would do. And we see that it was incubating at least one slug in his body, which he coughs up into the bathroom sink. This is only the beginning stages for this creature, but first let's continue to look at Will's particular connection to the Upside Down. After his infection, Will has now become connected to the Upside Down, but seems to be okay for the most part after his time there. But on the verge of the anniversary of his being taken, Will begins to experience traumatic new visions of the Upside Down, suddenly finding himself there after moments before being in Hawkins. But visions isn't exactly an accurate description for what is happening, as what he is seeing is reality. As he describes it, comparing it to a Viewmaster slide, is being out of phase, essentially stuck between the two worlds. So he physically is in both dimensions at the same time, seeing the Upside Down and simultaneously physically being in our world. And in the Upside Down, seeing a new monstrous creature that could be considered the big bad of the show. This brings us to the creatures of the Upside Down, starting with the head honcho of the dimension, the shadow monster or Mind Flayer. This many stories tall creature has a physical shape of sorts with several long spindly limbs and a long angular head shape at the top. But it's not a traditional corporeal creature, and its whole physical structure is made up entirely of a dark, smoky, wispy sort of substance. The monster is the source of the Upside Down's infection, and most likely this black substance is many particles of its virus formed together into the shape we see. It doesn't seem to be able to physically attack someone, but it is able to change its limb's shape, forming a tornado which it wraps around Will with a big smoky cloud of virus. When trying to classify the creature in D&D terminology, the closest akin to it is the Mind Flayer, and the two share many similarities. The Mind Flayer is an ancient monster that doesn't know its true home, and it is driven only to destroy other dimensions, determining all other species to be unworthy, and if it succeeds, leads to the destruction of the world. It also enslaves these dimensions by taking over their brains using psionic powers, and we see this in action with Will. He already had a connection trapped between phases of the worlds, but this is taken to another level when the shadow monster creates that virus NATO with many black smoke tendrils entering into his body. Again, a virus needs a host to spread the infection. That's what we see happen to Will. This causes him to have a direct physical connection to the Upside Down that proves dangerous later. The Mind Flayer is the being controlling all of the dimension's actions, with the Upside Down acting under its command as a hive mind. This means that everything that the Upside Down grows is all connected to the monster, and now that he's been infected, Will is also part of that hive mind. So if the Upside Down experiences pain, such as when the vines are torched by the Hawkins energy crew, Will feels it as well. The monster also uses this connection to use Will for its own gain, sabotaging the Hawkins group that stumbles across the mass graveyard in the tunnels. For more on the backstory of the Mind Flayer, the Duffer said the creature was inspired by author H.P. Lovecraft's work, most certainly some influence being drawn from the cosmic entity Cthulhu featured in many of Lovecraft's stories. Similar to the shadow monster, Cthulhu is an ancient evil being with an octopus-like head whose face was a mass of feelers, and this evokes the spindly limbs of the shadow monster, with the vines the Upside Down creates certainly resembling a mass of tentacles as well. The idea is that the shadow monster represents an unconquerable evil force, the beings of which are referred to in Lovecraft's works as the Great Old Ones. The theme is the same in the show, with the shadow monster as the Great Old Ones in Lovecraft's work, to represent the complete irrelevance of mankind in the face of the cosmic horrors that exist in the universe. While the shadow monster is the head brain of the Upside Down, it has many living things that fall under its command. There's the ever-expanding living black vines, those plants that shoot spores to spread its virus, and its independent living beings, the Demogorgons, all originating from the shadow monster. The Demogorgon goes through a 5-stage evolution when becoming the final upright form seen in season 1. Starting as a slug, as seen coughed up by Will, they then evolve into the adorable tadpole or pollywog stage, then sprout limbs, seen being caused by something moving under its skin, known as the Frogogorgon, then later sporting the tulip head shape seen when eating Mr. Mew Mew. Yes, the Cat-O-Gorgon. And the next step is the Demodog, where the creature is larger and more deadly, still seen walking on all fours and with a tail as with the mini Demodogs in Season 2. The next and final stage after the dog would be becoming a fully formed Demogorgon. And while we don't see that final evolution occur on screen, this step-by-step process is confirmed by the visual effects team on the show. They say the process occurs very quickly, going all the way from Slug to Demogorgon in approximately a week. So Dart and the others couldn't have come from Will Slug a year ago, indicating there are other slugs that we didn't see until they pop up later already evolved to Demodogs. Though all the bodies in the mass graveyard indicate where these others could have been feeding in order to facilitate their evolution. So the Demogorgons are all under the hive mind control of the shadow monster and follow whatever its commands are, seen when the Demodogs are called back to Hawkins for the shadow monster's trap. So they aren't independently thinking, working with the hive mind for the Upside Down and its purposes. And it seems the creatures are mainly driven to feed. Approximately the size of an adult male at its final stage, with a gray, long, lean body and claw-like fingers, and most notably a tulip-shaped head, which opens in many flaps, revealing a mass of sharp teeth inside, the folds then forming together to close. It is already dangerous as a physical predator to anyone that encounters it. The creature also has mental abilities and can create temporary gates of its own in order to travel between dimensions and stalk its prey. It also has a weakness to fire, just like everything else in the Upside Down, seen when Nancy and Jonathan set it ablaze in Season 1. However, it appears the creature has some kind of healing ability, as this doesn't kill it completely, and it is able to recuperate before appearing later at the school. Though in Season 1 there is only one monster, versus the mini dogs in Season 2, which got me thinking. The Duffers said that there was a specific reason for there only being one monster there, which brings me to the state that we see the Upside Down in Season 1. It looks like this dimension has been completely consumed by the Mind Flayer's disease. As such, there is nowhere else here for its virus to grow. That's why there was only one lonely Demogorgon there when the door first opened. There is no more food or energy in this dimension for any new life to really grow there. Then the doorway is opened, giving the Flayer a whole new dimension to begin to enter into and feed from. That's why a year later, after it has spread further, the Upside Down's virus is more powerful, quickly able to facilitate more life, as seen with the swarm of Demodogs that quickly evolve in merely a week. At least for now, the gate is closed and the Mind Flayer is stuck on the other side. Though now it's aware of Eleven and her abilities, it will no doubt do anything it can to find her and a way back into Hawkins to spread its infection and completely destroy our world. There you go, guys, a complete breakdown of what we know about the Upside Down and its creatures, with all things stemming from the smoky ancient entity, the Mind Flayer. What do you guys think the Mind Flayer will do next? What was your favorite Upside Down moment in Season 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.